Dame Trelise Cooper, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Jake. Really nice to be here.
Yeah, really appreciate your time as well. Oompher is all about inspiring people to achieve extraordinary things. So who and what during your life and career has inspired you?
I think it started with my dad. He was a teenage father, and he was very ambitious that his children would have a really great life and a successful life. And so he was self-employed, and he was hardworking. He got up every day. He was ambitious, and because of that, we actually, as children, had a great life.
And in fashion, have you had some mentors along the way who have helped you in your pathway?
No, actually, in fashion, I found it really hard to find someone that would was there that I could look up to. I liked what Donna Karan did back in the early days, but I didn't know her personally, couldn't ask her anything.
Okay.
But I make sure that I'm available to young designers if they want to ever ask me anything, because I did find that hard when I started out.
Okay, fantastic. And your business, I guess, started in the early 80s, and
Yes.
first store opening in 1985. So what inspired you to get into fashion in the first place?
I didn't start out that way. My father really was quite old-fashioned. He wanted me to go to school, do shorthand typing, and get married and have children. And so I didn't understand what was available to me, and I'm talking a long time ago now. When I was in the early 80s, I was in my second marriage, or second relationship. I'd been married, and through that I learnt about self-education and knowing who I am and what I am. And I guess what I recognised is I had a burning desire to do fashion. I had a burning desire to be involved in the fashion industry. I'd met my husband who was in it, and I was always on the periphery of it. And I guess through those self-help type of reading and courses I did, I learnt something called creative visualization, which I think is now called dreams. We know it as dreams, and having your dream and living it, and totally visualizing it in Technicolor dreamscape as if it has already occurred. So you need to write it down, the act of writing it down in a journal. And I think I sit here today because of that act of dreaming it big, dreaming it in detail, and writing it down as if it has already occurred. And I've used that all through my life for houses I've bought, all kinds of things. And a part of it is putting it aside and not kind of allowing it to kind of brew, and then taking action.
Yeah, fantastic. And your story's, I guess, hugely unique in the way that when you got into the fashion industry, you hadn't received any formal training as such. So
No.
when you look back, do you think that gave you quite a nice competitive advantage, because you weren't always designing from the book or what you'd learned, you sort of just had your free spirit and did what you thought was great?
Yes, actually, in hindsight now, probably, but at the time it was challenging because I didn't know anything, and it was really hard. And I think a lot of people took advantage of the fact that I didn't know what I was doing, but I really made sure that if I made a mistake, I made it once and never again. I upskilled, and I kind of now talk about it as being the University of Trelise, because I really educated myself, and I now know how to make garments and look at garments and know and understand it. But you know, it's a constant learning curve. It's a constant learning.
Yeah, and you also started really young. I mean, in the early 20s, your first store opened in High Street, and a year later in Wellington. So it's just incredible how young you started, and obviously how driven you would have been. So what would your advice be for young people wanting to get into fashion or start their own businesses and become fashion entrepreneurs as you have?
I think it's about hold on to the dream, really cherish the dream, and really make sure that you do whatever it takes to make that happen. And these days, that's different to what I did. These days, I do think you need to have an education. I definitely think it's worth having training for. And I think one of the ways in which you can do that is to be an intern and make yourself indispensable to a designer like myself. then you end up getting a job here like Kayla. Kayla's here because she was a great intern for 4 years and made herself indispensable. And she came to work full-time or part-time with me, but in paid employment in her last year of university. And I use Kayla's story as a way of telling young people how to do it, because what she did was she really made herself indispensable to me and continues to do that. She's an amazing person in that she's happy to get me a glass of water and a cup of coffee, and she'll give her opinion, and she's not afraid to give it, and it's a considered opinion. And I think that's what you do to get into the fashion industry these days. Get alongside somebody like me and make yourself indispensable.
Yeah, fantastic. And looking at the Trelise Cooper brand in general, I mean, it's globally respected. I'm just going to list some of the names of people who've worn it, such as Liv Tyler, Miley Cyrus, Lindsay Lohan, Stevie Nicks, Julia Roberts, and others. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. And you must be very proud looking back. But I guess the question is how did you get into that celebrity market? Because I can imagine as a designer, that would be the wish of pretty much everyone, would be to get global celebrities wearing their stuff.
I suppose so, but I didn't, at the time it happened, I was so busy I probably didn't celebrate it like I could have. So, for instance, well, it started actually through New Zealand Fashion Week. They brought somebody out to New Zealand who saw my collection, took it to New York. They had a friend in LA. That LA agent still works for me, and they sell into all of the stores that sell to celebrities. And so all of those celebrities actually bought from me. Now, in LA, there's celebrity stylists for Africa who get given everything, and any star like those girls, they can have anything they like from any designer they choose. That they paid for mine, I think, is even more incredible, because they found it in the stores, the A-list stores that my garments are stocked in. And that's the exciting thing, is that, you know, often we did not know, say, for instance, Miley Cyrus, we did not know that her stylist had picked up our piece. And then she wore it on American Idol Gives Back with an audience of 97 million. And then they took that garment that she was wearing and the whole look of that night and made her the Madame Tussauds wax out of all of that, and a horrible kind of copy of my jacket, so I sent them the real deal. And but it was that her stylist bought it from one of the stores. So I think that for me is more exciting, that there was absolute choice about it. It wasn't that they were kind of pushed onto them, and you know, which is what happens. There's a whole lot of giving.
Yeah, it's amazing. And has that celebrity, I guess, influence been a huge part of the brand building for you guys at Trelise Cooper?
Maybe to the outside, it has been, I would say.
Yeah.
But certainly to us inside, it was kind of like on that day, wow, that's cool. Wow, that's so exciting. Move on to the next thing. We're too busy to stop and kind of celebrate. And that's what, you know, when you're building a brand and building a young business, it's busy. There's a lot on, and there's kind of no time to take breath and kind of celebrate it. We kind of did, but, you know, it was like, wow, that's cool, how amazing. And then,
on to the next
the phone went.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think in terms of the Trelise Cooper brand in general, and the other brands that you have going as well, are all very, very strong. So what would your advice be to an entrepreneur or a CEO even who's looking at building the brand of their organisation? What would your advice be?
Well, I think keep true to yourself. I think as a founder and a leader and the designer of the brand and the garments, if you like, I think you have to keep true to your vision of what you are passionate about, what you think your purpose is. You see, for me, my purpose here is not to design clothes to make lots of money, because that's actually not going to, that's hard. But my purpose is to be here, and I'm really purpose driven, to give beautiful clothing to women that defines them, that allows them to speak without saying a word, that allows them to go on journeys that are important. Maybe it's marriage, it might be their child getting married, it might be somebody's funeral that's important, it might be a job interview, but they are moments in women's lives, and these clothes are the backdrop or the platform. They have a transformative power when women put them on and they feel great. That's what I'm here for. I'm here, and that's what drives me. And I believe to make a strong brand, you have to have a purpose other than making money. You have to have kind of like, it's a spiritual moment here, but you kind of have to have a greater purpose for why you're doing this. It's not about ego, it's not about money, it's about you actually feel like you can make a difference and can give to the greater good of the world through what you do. And I believe that creates a strong brand.
Yeah, and obviously from what you're saying, really touching that sort of aspiration level, like you say when they put the clothes on, like Apple giving people a sense of freedom as opposed to a phone as such.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Apple is way more than a phone or an iPad. It's way more than that. It's people's kind of entry into the world and global kind of connection and all kinds of things.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same with clothes. You can look at, yes, this is a dress. Yes, that's true. However, it's way more than that. It's a way someone can feel good, feel transformed, feel different, feel amazing. It's how they speak without saying who they are.
Yeah, fantastic. And what about the cross-collaboration with other brilliant brands like in New Zealand? Obviously, you guys have been involved with uniforms and so on. Has that been quite a, do you think, instrumental part in growing the brand and building it up as well?
Yes, definitely. The Air New Zealand experience has been an amazing and continues to be an amazing collaboration. A collaboration that puts me in front of 5,000 to 6,000 staff every time I travel. I mean, not all collectively at once, but it doesn't matter where I am in the world. I'm there seeing my garments being worn by these people.
It's fantastic,
yeah, it's amazing, and they are all really complimentary, which is so lovely. And so that collaboration, when I did it, I really didn't know. I really didn't know how that would play out. It's with hindsight that I get to see it's been very great for my brand. But I must have had an inkling that it needed to be great, because I didn't want to get on a flight. I didn't want to go to an airport and feel kind of ashamed of what they were wearing. I really wanted to be proud of it. So I put heart and soul. It's probably the biggest creative challenge in clothing I've ever done, because it has a lot of elements to it that are challenging, but it was a really great experience and continues to be.
Yeah, fantastic. And so in business, Dame Trelise, you've obviously diversified and come up with new ranges and stuff such as Cooper by Trelise and Trelise Cooper Kids and so on. So why have you chosen to diversify?
It's only come about because there's been a need, and we've noticed a need, been asked, and created a collection because we felt there was a gap in the market. Of late, I've created a couple of collections because the market changed dramatically. So Boardroom and Coupe came about because in Australia they had a massive change in the way in which clothing is bought, and it affected anyone selling into Australia, selling fashion in Australia. A lot of people in Australia have struggled. And for me, I needed to replace turnover, so I created those two brands to generate income from a different place than normal, and they've been really successful and good fun to do.
Okay, cool. And in the early days, did you find it important as well to sort of laser focus on one thing so that you really build something before diversifying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you see people in fashion diversifying too early and trying to do too much at once? Or?
Yes, and I also probably could have done that with Cooper by Trelise. That could have, when that came out, that was quite early on. But if I had my time again, I think keep focused, keep laser focused, as you say, and make all the mistakes and the challenges and kind of get things smooth so that when you create a great platform for the next thing to grow from.
And in terms of exports, Dame Trelise, obviously the Trelise Cooper brand has been heavily involved with exports over the years, winning awards such as the Trade New Zealand Export Award and so on. So with your garments being sold in boutiques all around the world from countries such as the US, UK, Paris, Rome, Singapore, how did you go about getting the brand to the world and going global?
I think a lot of it happened because of Fashion Week. A lot of it happened because of my agent in America. She sold to other countries and went to Paris with my collections. But lately, more lately, I've pulled it right back. So it's not as, I don't export as much as I did when I won the award. And the reason for that is the world changed in 2007 with the global financial crisis. And at that time we were exporting a lot and it was exciting, but a lot of companies in Europe, in the UK and especially in America went either bankrupt or small businesses, or they decided not to pay. And so I learnt a painful lesson through that time. And because the global economies have not come back as strongly as they were, I have chosen to go very carefully. I still export to those markets, but in a much smaller way. What I know is that our New Zealand economy is very strong, and I've made up that turnover in growing New Zealand. And but I think the thing with exporting is that it is fabulous and it is great, and it's very important for New Zealand that it has export dollars. I think it is challenging. It's extremely challenging. It's in foreign exchange and getting your goods across the world, and and the taxes to land them. There's many hidden costs in exporting that I think for small businesses they need to find out about, but it's a great goal to have.
Yeah, and in terms of, I guess, having done business internationally, in terms of fashion specifically, what are some of the key differences you notice in, say, the American fashion industry or the European fashion industry that's different than in New Zealand, or a fashion industry is quite similar around the world?
Well, firstly, I think if you're selling globally or internationally, you need a brand that is international. So it's not specifically one thing or another. It has an international flavour.
Yep.
Otherwise, there's so many clothing brands in the world, so many clothes for sale. To stand out and be distinctive, you have to have a point of difference. But it can't be a point of difference that's so different that it looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's something that has to speak to that customer when it's hanging on the rack. It has to have a differentiation. And I think the great advantage New Zealanders have is that we have a creativity from the edge of the world. Our edge of the world creativity means we approach things in a very different way to, say, American or European fashion. And what I mean by that is when I had first started shipping quite a lot into the US, Kevin Roberts, the CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi, is a personal friend, and he said to me, be very careful, Trelise, that Americans don't homogenize and try and make your look bland like everything else there. And actually, he was right. That's what they started to do. They started to give me information that this is what we need. We need you to tone this down. This looks too costume, was the thing they loved to say all the time. But what I know is that when it got to the rack and to the consumer, it went quickly if it was that unique piece.
Okay.
And so I think when you sell internationally, you've got to be careful of the buyer. The buyer is the corporate kind of puppet, always looking at what the bottom line is. It's all about numbers, and they tend to want to calm down, make it safe. And I still suffer that. I'm always got the buyer, choosing what they think will sell, when I have demonstrable information from my own stores to know that what sells is the most exciting differentiated piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, looking over your life, you've done some incredible things also in charity, from being patron of the New Zealand Breast Cancer Research Trust and Habitat for Humanity, and some of your garments have featured in things such as Vogue and In Style and on Sex and the City as a TV show. So many amazing things. So what's your dream still to come when you look forward to the future?
I think I want to continue to grow my business and to be flexible enough to change. As the fashion industry is about change, and it's been through massive change recently in that the global financial crisis started it, and alongside that was online shopping that never existed actually about 5 years ago. And so this whole kind of new way of people shopping, finding clothes. Not long ago, the person down the road was the only competition to my retailer that I'm selling to.
Yeah.
now that retailer has the whole of the world as their competition. So it means as independent store owners, as a person creating a collection, it has to still be internationally right up there so that it competes worldwide with this global international online shopping that we have. And so for me, it's about continuing to keep that change and evolving my business to keep in business, actually, so that everybody that works here has a stimulating, amazing job, and they actually have a job at the end of the day.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess having been made a Dame Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit recently, you must be very proud of what you've achieved.
Yes, I am,
Yeah.
but it does take, I guess, the being made a Knight of the Realm, I had to stop and actually look at that, and I found that quite a hard thing to accept. But now I understand that it is an inspiration to other young women and to people in the fashion industry or coming into the fashion industry. And so, yes, I am very proud of it, but it's, yeah, it was kind of, I found it quite hard to accept.
Yeah, okay. So I've just got a few quick fire questions to finish now. I guess when looking back over your career, one of the things that we usually ask people is what are some of the struggles that you went through in building your brand and building yourself as a person, I guess? What were some of the struggles that you had?
Well, I think always the human element is the thing that always challenges me.
Okay.
You know, no business, it doesn't matter what it is without people, and people come with their own dynamics, their own set of values, and it's about bringing together all of these people and having them fit. And so for me, the people part of it and keeping everybody happy. I've got 120 staff, and I feel like we're a family, but it's actually quite a big family to be a mother to, and to have all the people happy all the time, you know, and that's actually, as a mother, what you want for your family is for them to all be happy. So I find that a personal challenge that continues, and it's an everyday challenge, and one that has allowed me enormous personal growth, enormous pain at times, and it continues to allow me to grow as a person. So I feel very lucky about that.
Yeah.
I think in this business, the other thing, I'm a creative, and I'm quite an optimist, and I have this kind of great ideas and big ideas and ideas that keep going. One of the biggest challenges for me was to understand that the numbers need to add up. The cash flow needs to be good. And at times I haven't done that very well, and I've had to really make sure I've got the right people in place to advise me, the right people doing the things they need to make sure our cash flow has been, you know, robust.
Okay, fantastic. And what was, if you had to look back, what's one of the best bits of advice you were ever given, if you can recall, and I guess who gave that to you, if you can remember?
Gosh, there's been so much.
Yeah.
I think the best bit of advice was to always approach your business with great morals and integrity.
Yep.
And to always do your best every day, and to watch your thoughts, because as a man thinketh, so is he. And those are all kind of advice that my father gave me. He do unto others as you would have others do to you.
Yeah.
And you know, they all sound good, and they are quite difficult at times to put into practice. But yes, my father was very clear about all of those kind of strong values.
Yeah, fantastic. And in terms of upskilling in business, what do you do today to keep growing yourself and grow your knowledge of this fantastic industry?
Well, I'm learning all about social media.
Yep.
I've got Kayla to help me with that. I guess that's the part that I've needed to really upskill on, is the new way in which marketing and selling and communicating with your customer has changed our business. And so I feel like I know how to make a garment really well. And it's the marketing of it and the selling of it and the keeping in touch and keeping our customers stimulated online. There's new technologies in fabric, and so I travel a lot to fabric fairs, and I look at new techniques, new ways of using fabric and the way in which fabrics are. I used to only ever use silk and linens and cottons, but polyesters and amazing kind of techniques used with things that the polyester used to be the P word. No one ever used to want to know about it. It's now a very important fibre in the fashion world.
Okay, cool. And just before we finish off, if you had to sort of sum up your top 3 bits of advice for people, young people wanting to get into fashion in particular, what would you sum up as the top 3 bits of advice?
Hold on to the dream.
Yeah.
Work really hard.
Yeah.
Be indispensable.
Okay.
And be the very best you can be every day.
Okay. And the 16-year-old girl you were, what would you think of who you've become today?
Oh, she probably think it's unbelievable. In one sense, and in another sense, she said, "Yeah, I knew you were always going to be like that."
Yeah, awesome. So just to finish off, Dame Trelise, look, you've achieved an absolute incredible career, and we're all very proud of you as a New Zealander.
Thank you.
Can you please look down this camera here and tell us, what are your wise words for the people of New Zealand?
My wise words are 10 two-letter words. If it is to be, it is up to me. It's all about how you think. What you think about is what you bring about.
Brilliant. That feels good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jake.
Cheers.
That was awesome.